Well, on tonight's, I like video games, okay, but some of the things you'll notice is I'm big into franchises like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, Mario. But one franchise I am, and of course, it also another franchise I'm into is this book right here is the 30th anniversary encyclopedia for Sonic the Hedgehog. But tonight, of course, we all know the big anniversary games. There wasn't really any big 5th anniversary games, unless you count Sonic 3D Blast or Sonic Jam for the Sega Genesis. 10th anniversary was, of course, Sonic Adventure 2. 20th anniversary was Sonic Generations. And the closest we've gotten to a 25th anniversary game, give me 1 second as I look it up, was probably Sonic Boom. Was Sonic Boom. We didn't really get a 25th anniversary game. We didn't really get a 30th anniversary game either when it comes to Sonic. The closest we did get to that, though, was the announcement of both. Sonic Origins, the re-releasing of the iconic Sonic Origins collection, which coincided with the release of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in theaters, as well as Sonic Frontiers announced in 21. But there is a lot of focus that nobody really focuses on the 15th anniversary games, and it's kind of the reason why, but it's not the true reason why. There's not many. However, there wasn't just one 15th anniversary game during it. While yes, the Sonic 06 is commonly known as the 15th anniversary game, there was more than one 15th anniversary game. So that's Sonic 06. Sonic 06 is literally one of the weirdest games ever because it works itself out of the canon. But there's actually 3 15th anniversary games. While Sonic 06 was mainly focused on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, which were the 7th gen consoles, the 6th gen got a lot of love too when it came to Sonic Riders, which released in February, which was 7 months before Sonic 06. It was the first new racing game since Sonic R. And of course, there's one more 15th anniversary game, which was Sonic Rivals, which was released actually a couple weeks after Sonic 06. But it's really cool when you look at these encyclopedias on these video games. And it's really interesting. It is really interesting. It is Sonic 06 is it is really cool to see Sonic 06. If you've ever played it, it's one of the better Sonic games. And of course, it is the 15th anniversary title, which is what we're going to start with, is the 15th anniversary title. Which is one of the more realistic games. It's one of the first HD Sonic games. So one of the games they made a lot of mistakes on with the iconic video game gameplay glitches. But has the best soundtrack and best soundtrack, and it has the best cutscenes of any Sonic game. But it's it's the only game that ever involved, it's the first game that ever involved time travel. And it was the foundation towards, number one, HD style graphics, HD style gameplay. It was a step in the right direction. Sonic Team learned a lot for the next mainline title in the franchise console-wise, which was Sonic Unleashed, which came out in 2008. And what's so cool about Sonic 06 is the time travel element, which is it's a long story, but in summary, What's interesting about Sonic 06, if you ever watched the gameplay or the cutscenes, at least kisses Sonic, all that fanciness. There is one thing I've noticed in the opening cutscene is Elise thinks Sonic is silver, which is irony if you think about it. But this game had a lot of problems because of the fact that this was the 16th anniversary. The 15th anniversary game was rushed. It was a rushed game because of deadlines. This was a game that was supposed to be released. It was supposed to be released near the holidays, and it's more evident in the U.S. copies, I would have to assume. But it's one of the good Sonic games because this is the first time we get the first 3D renders and first modern renders of what we now know as the modern era in Sonic. But it also introduced Silver the Hedgehog, who actually had 2 introductory games that year. Because his second introductory game, of course, Methless Dark appeared in this, but he's never appeared ever since. And of course, that game was none other than, and as I'm reading my book here, was Sonic Rivals, which came out, ironically, a couple weeks later. Which was only released which, by the way, Sonic Rivals was only released in the U.S. and European markets, if you could believe that for a second. Of course, that was the second introductory game to Silver the Hedgehog, which is kind of ironic if you think about it. If you really do think about it, it's kind of ironic he got 2 introductory games. But this one was focused on Eggman, which this one focused a lot more on of course, Eggman Nego returning and trying to transform people into cards. Which all you gotta do is collect cards. But it has probably the easiest level design of all the Sonic games. I've actually got a really good record on it between beating Sonic's storyline. I'm still gotta beat Knuckles, Tails. Knuckles is Shadow and Silver's storyline, but I love that game. And it was also the first Sonic game to be ever released on the PSP. It was exclusive to the PSP. And of course, who can't forget about the last 15th anniversary game, mainly focused on the 6th generation consoles, which was Sonic Riders, which introduced the iconic Babylon Rogues, which are Jet the Hawk, Wave the Swallow, and Storm the Albatross. Those 3 are sweet and kind, and they're fun. I love their character development, because each of one of them is kind of similar to Sonic, which is Jet, Wave, which is Tails, even though she's a girl. Really cool girl, too. Like, I love her design. I love Wave's design, as you can tell. This is, if I can get to it, that is Wave's design right there, if you can see my book. And she's got a really cool design. I love the purple in her. And then Storm the Albatross. He's just Big the Cat mixed with Knuckles. That's really cool, too. But what's so cool about this is the other 15th anniversary game that released way before Sonic 06, which probably led to some delays with Sonic 06 being produced, means that Sonic Riders was being produced at the same time. Of course, there are 16 iconic racers, which are Sonic, Shadow, Knuckles, Amy, Rouge, Cream, Miles, Tails, Prowler, Dr. Eggman, and, of course, AI from Super Monkey Ball, Knights from Knights into Dreams, and, of course, Eula from Space Channel 5. But that story, I kind of like the storyline I like the storyline because Sonic's team is working towards stopping Eggman from and Eggman's plan. Where the Babylon Rogues are, yeah, they're notorious thieves, but he's looking for the hidden treasure. Is seeking his ancestral hidden treasure and he holds the key to finding the iconic treasure. And of course, there is some remixes of the heroes' courses in that. But there's a lot to take in from Sonic's 15th anniversary. Is they went all out because this was the first major anniversary since Sega stopped making consoles. This was the biggest anniversary ever, so that I feel like that's why they planned so many games. But they also focused on certain generations too. Like Riders was mostly focused on the 6th generation of consoles. Sonic 06 was focused on the 7th generation of consoles, and then the PSP they had their own focus. And what's funny about all those 15th anniversary games, what's so ironic is, except for the PS3 version of Sonic 06, they are either a PlayStation Greatest Hit, they are either PlayStation Greatest Hits, which are these two right here, an Xbox Platinum Family Hit, which is the Xbox copy, or a player's choice for the Nintendo GameCube, which is what we now know as the Nintendo Selects. But these were the games that were really popular, and they're fun to play. Like they are fun to play. I like 06 because of its challenge, and of course, Sonic Rivals is a portable racing game. Riders is also another racing game that is really good, and it's really cool because these are games that aren't normally talked about much besides 06. Well, Riders is talked about a lot, to be honest with you, but it's one of the more popular Sonic games, kind of like Sonic Rivals. These games, the Sonic Rivals franchise as a whole is one of those that's hard to come by. This franchise is also Sonic Riders is also a hard one to come by. It took me a while to find the PS2 copy, and it took me a while to find. It was easier to find this than it was this. And then, but what's so cool is I got actual books about the history, and of course, there is a lot of things you gotta take away. Number one, Silver the Hedgehog was original. If you've played Sonic 06, or if you've never played on 06, Silver is the youngest of all the Hedgehogs, besides Amy, quote unquote, because there is no such thing as age in Sonic games anymore. But he's from the future, where he has psychic powers, and is convinced by Mephiles that he can save his ruined era by assassinating Sonic by a so-called Iblis trigger. And of course, Princess Elise has the other half of Soleil. So, Iblis, part of Iblis is sealed within her, and of course, it gets resealed in Blaze. But she learns how to smile again. Of course, Mephiles just looks menacing, though. I can't really show this, but he's very menacing. But there's a lot to take away from this 15th anniversary of Sonic games, and number one is the number one thing is if you look at these two games right here alone, these are from 2006. They don't have the Sonic 06 logo on them because they're re-releases, if you will, because of either the Greatest Hits logo, which is exclusive to the PlayStation brand, or the player's choice. This, however, on the back does have the 15th anniversary logo. But what's funny here is neither one of these games do. And And that is an interesting thing to take away from that, too. The 15th anniversary was meant to be a celebration of Sonic. And they did the best they could. And Sega did the best they could, too. Like, they might have messed up with Sonic 06, specifically on the PS3 version, but they still tried. If you look at this version of the case, and of course this was and this is also a 2007 re-release. It could be also why it's a lot better than the 06 release. And of course, the other 15th anniversary game. I'm just opening this up just to show off the discs, because I don't get to show them off that often. That's my Sonic Riders disc. But you can see they put a lot of love into the 15th anniversary. They put in a lot of love into it. And while it didn't turn, like, for Sonic 06, it didn't turn out the greatest, but it still sold well overall. I think I read, when I was reading somewhere, it sold 9,000 copies. But when it comes to runs, to walkthroughs, a lot of people use the Xbox version because it was a lot more stabilized than this version. Sonic Rivals is just, it's an interesting game, and it's fun to play. It's one of the easiest games I've ever played on a more portable console besides Sonic Rush Adventure. But they took a lot of love in it. And in fact, I was reading somewhere that originally Sonic 06 was also supposed to be released for the Wii. Which, that eventually, a Wii version of that game eventually became start of the Storybook series with, give me 1 second, which I have it right here in my book. Give me a second. I like flipping through pages, just to let you know. But when I talk about history, I like to use books and knowledge from that I've read. So Sonic and the Secret Rings, which came out in February of 2007, originally that was also supposed to, before they announced this one, Sonic and the Secret Rings, originally it was supposed to come out. Originally was supposed to be a Wii version of Sonic 06, which eventually became Sonic and the Secret Rings. Kind of cool. Let me look for some interesting facts. Of course, not Sonic Rivals 2. Hi, Rouge. There is actually some cool facts. Sometimes I can find some cool facts in here. Let's see. I think there is a lot to learn. And I'm not going to go over the whole history of Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm not going, or Sonic 06. That is for y'all to learn. But of course, Sonic 06 is all about Silver Sonic and Shadow trying to save the world from Mephiles and Iblis. And that's all that game's about. And it works. And also, this game is mainline, but it resets. Sonic Rivals is all about, I guess, the Babylon Rogues is all about the Babylon Rogues, and it's a fun racing game that's different from the previous iterations of Sonic racing games. Then, of course, it's all about recovering cards from iconic Sonic games or characters from iconic Sonic games, but it has a cool story too. These are the 15th anniversary is a forgotten anniversary for a lot of reasons because of Sonic 06, but there was more than just one game that came out. That's what made the 15th anniversary so memorable, because this was the first, and that's why I liked this quick history discussion on the 15th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog. And of course, this isn't a long video, it's going to be probably, but if you have any questions for me on any of these games, I can answer those questions using, in the comments below. If you have any questions, I can answer them via the encyclopedia, as they call it, for Sonic 06. For Sonic 06, Sonic Rivals, and Sonic Riders. I can answer any questions. But that is tonight's video game histories, which is this one. I feel like I rambled a lot, but I was also reading some of the history at the same time to help understand the franchise a little bit better. For y'all, a little bit better.